This March marks the 20th anniversary of the horrific crime of aggression against Iraq, perpetuated by the coalition of the willing, including our very own Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, the Czech Republic, Netherlands, Denmark and Spain. I want to see war criminals punished, but after 20 years of impunity for the brigands who wrecked Iraq, the proposal before us is just pure fantasy. International law is upheld by consensus. It either applies to all states equally or it doesn't work. And those before us who move this motion, really the goal is not justice. It's to scupper peace, which is the only way to stop the slaughter now. If you want to put Putin behind bars, fine, but you've absolutely no credibility whatsoever unless you bring Bush, Blair and all his European counterparts with them.
But I really have to say, on the week when it is the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine, for you not to simultaneously call for an investigation into the ongoing war crimes and crimes against humanity being committed by the apartheid state of Israel against the Palestinian people, I really have to wonder about the consistency of the ethics of EU foreign policy. It is utterly, utterly unconscionable that we can say on the one hand, we must investigate the war crimes and atrocities of Vladimir Putin and remain silent, as you did when you spoke in June in Israel beside the Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and did not say a word, not a word, after we've had two devastating reports by Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch, of 70 years of ongoing crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, the siege of Gaza, a 15-year-long criminal action. Do we talk about investigating the war crimes of Israel? No. Do we sanction Israel for these crimes as we've sanctioned Russia? No. Instead, we continue to give them favoured trade status, import huge amounts of gas from Israel, deepen the relations and engage in considerable military and defence trade with the state that is doing this to the Palestinians. I also find it remarkable when we say we must break our dependency on Russian fossil fuels and oil, that at the very same time we increase our imports of Saudi oil. Ironically, the Saudi Arabia this year has doubled its imports of Russian oil and is effectively laundering Russian oil, but we are now importing more from the Saudi dictatorship, one of the most brutal dictatorships in the world, that just like Vladimir Putin has engaged in a 15-year-long war against the people of Yemen that has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people. And leading European states continue to arm that regime. Indeed, you yourself in 2015 went over and signed a defence arrangement with Saudi Arabia when you were Minister for Defence in Germany. If we are going to condemn, as we must, the war crimes of Putin, we must simultaneously condemn all war crimes against humanity, even when they are committed by people that the European Union perceives as allies like Israel or Saudi Arabia or those that arm and support them.
The ICC cannot subject Americans to arrest, prosecution, and jail. The U.S. is not a party to the Rome Statute that created the ICC. And even if a prosecution were to proceed, it would make a mockery of due process. There's no requirement for unanimity for a conviction. The prosecution can rely on hearsay to obtain a conviction. There's no real guarantee of a speedy trial. And instead of facing a jury of one's peers, it's a panel of judges who aren't subject to any American accountability. The Trump administration is taking the following actions. First, we're authorizing the imposition of economic sanctions against ICC officials directly engaged in ICC efforts to investigate U.S. personnel or allied personnel against that allied state's consent, and against others who materially support such officials' activities. Designations will be made on a case-by-case basis against specific individuals or entities. And second, the United States is expanding visa restrictions for officials directly engaged in those same investigations. We're extending and expanding these restrictions to include their family members. It gives us no joy to punish them, but we cannot allow ICC officials and their families to come to the United States to shop, and travel, and otherwise enjoy American freedoms as these same officials seek to prosecute the defender of those very freedoms.
Rest assured that the men and women of the United States Armed Forces will never appear before the ICC, and nor will they ever be subjected to the judgments of unaccountable international bodies. In short, I'd like to thank the President for sending a clear message to the international community that we will always protect Americans, no matter where they serve, from harassment, abuse, and overreach by organizations outside of our own justice system.
The United States, as has been mentioned, has never consented to ICC jurisdiction. Worse yet, we are concerned that foreign powers, like Russia, are also manipulating the ICC in pursuit of their own agenda. The measures announced today are an important first step in holding the ICC accountable for exceeding its mandate and violating the sovereignty of the United States.
Bolton also threatened to directly target judges at the ICC.
We will respond against the ICC and its personnel to the extent permitted by U.S. law. We will ban its judges and prosecutors from entering the United States. We will sanction their funds in the U.S. financial system, and we will prosecute them in the U.S. criminal system. We will do the same for any company or state that assists an ICC investigation of Americans.
Well, the International Criminal Court is troubling to the United States. It's troubling to the administration, obviously troubling to the United States Senate as well. President Clinton signed this treaty, but when he signed it, he said it should not be submitted to the Senate. And therefore never has been, and I don't intend to submit it either. Because it, as the United States works to bring peace around the world, our diplomats and or soldiers can be dragged into this court. And that's very troubling to me. We'll try to work out the impasse at the United Nations, but one thing we're not going to do is sign on to the International Criminal Court.
You lied about weapons of mass destruction. You lied about connections to 9/11. You lied about Iraq being a threat. You sent me to Iraq. You sent me to Iraq in 2003. My friends are dead. Joshua Castile. You killed people. You lied. You lied about WMD. A million Iraqis are dead because you lied. My friends are dead because you lied. You need to apologize. Apologize.
The United States is the world's terrorist. We are now provoking a war with China, because that's the thing. Americans have no idea how corrupt their government is.